The year was 2147, a time when humanity had reached out to colonize the stars, but remained tethered to Earth, their birthplace and their prison. The planet was dying, a slow, suffocating death brought on by centuries of exploitation and negligence. As megacities rose into the skies, a global council known as Terra Nova sought desperately not just for hope, but for answers. Dr. Mara Ellison, a brilliant but haunted xenolinguist, was called aboard the starship Solstice, a sleek, state-of-the-art vessel designed for deep space exploration. Her mission? To decipher the impossible. A transmission, faint and erratic, was detected coming from Epsilon Eridani, a star 10.5 light-years from Earth. Its cadence was unnatural, its pattern deliberate, as though someone or something was attempting to speak. The message, lingering in fragmented syllables, seemed ancient, but unnervingly familiar. For weeks, Mara pored over it in the ship's data center, her holographic interface stretching before her, displaying waveforms, visualizations, and alien alphabets. Each breakthrough revealed a startling truth. The signal didn't originate from Epsilon Eridani. It was simply sent through it, a relay of sorts. Its true source lay even farther into the void, light years beyond where humanity had ventured. The message was a warning. It spoke of a cataclysm. Late one night in her lab, a breakthrough came. Mara discovered buried subcodes within the signal, coordinates. She brought this to Captain Alan Nova, a steely-eyed leader whose dedication bordered on obsession. Against advice from the Council back on Earth, Nova ordered the Solstice to follow the breadcrumbs deeper into uncharted space. This was no ordinary solar system, they found. The destination was a graveyard of planets, scorched remnants orbiting a massive black hole. As the Solstice approached, the crew's instruments began to malfunction. Time distorted, the stars themselves seemed to flicker and bleed. And yet, amid the chaos, they detected the impossible. A perfectly preserved city on one of the ruined planets. Their scans revealed massive obelisks reaching toward the sky, and structures that glowed faintly with an unearthly cyan hue. Against the protests of the ship's science officer, Lieutenant Theo Markin, Captain Nova ordered Mara and an away team down. The surface was a labyrinth of glass-like streets and towering monoliths. The structures, despite eons of abandonment, pulsed faintly with energy, as though waiting to be awakened. But what chilled Mara most were the carvings etched into every pillar, every wall. Humanoid figures fleeing from something unseen, their faces twisted in terror. In the heart of the city, they found it. The origin of the signal. A massive ancient machine stood tall, suspended by beams of light. Its surface shimmered with symbols unrecognizable to the others, but to Mara, they whispered something deeply human. The end comes. Mara touched the machine, and in an instant, she was overwhelmed by visions. Memories that weren't her own. A vast interstellar civilization on the brink of annihilation. Its worlds swallowed by an unseen force, something alive and ravenous, slipping through the unseen cracks of the universe. They had tried to warn anyone who would listen, launching the signal out into the infinite dark, their final plea. She snapped back to reality as alarms blared on the Solstice above. "Captain, we've got a massive energy surge building near the black hole." Theo's voice crackled through the comms. The away team raced back to their craft as tremors shook the city. By the time they returned to the ship, the gravitational field around the black hole had twisted unnaturally, bulging outward as if something monstrous were breaking through. Captain Nova demanded answers, but Mara could barely speak through her dread. It's not just a warning about what destroyed them. It is coming here. It knows we're here. The Solstice crew scrambled. The engines screamed as the ship launched away from the unfolding nightmare. Through the massive hull windows, they saw it, a blinding tear in the fabric of space, and from it, emerged tendrils of dark energy that devoured light itself. What followed could only be described as a living shadow, colossal and incomprehensible, stretching toward them. Mara's heart sank. This was no natural disaster. It was an apex predator of the stars. "Captain, we can't outrun it!" Theo yelled. Mara's mind raced as pieces of the alien warning clicked into place. We don't fight it. We lead it back. Back to the machine. It was built to stop this. With seconds to spare, Nova executed an impossible maneuver, navigating deeper into the planetary graveyard. The solstice lured the entity toward the ancient city. The team activated the machine remotely by transmitting the same frequency as the warning signal. As the shadow encroached on the city, the obelisks flared to life, humming with energy. The machine released a pulse, silent but cosmos-shaking. The shadow screamed, a sound that bypassed the ears and resonated in the soul before collapsing in upon itself. The crew of the Solstice escaped, tattered but alive, carrying the grim knowledge of what lay beyond the edge of the universe. Mara stared back at the fading ruins. The message had changed. The symbols now read, "The first wasn't the last." Humanity would never be the same.